Hello, everyone. Today I'm gonna do a little commentary on the new world record in Frogun, the SNES category. And originally, I already did this commentary on stream. However, due to me being a silly goose, that stream's VOD turned out to have no audio. So I'm considering that a trial run. It was really good commentary. Like it was great. But now I'm gonna do it again from the beginning, and that's also like why you see this like chat box up here because that's my normal stream overlay. But I'm also gonna use that today because I'm not only gonna do commentary for this run to explain the ins and outs a bit, but I'm also gonna like this is also gonna be my submission for SGDQ 2023. I am not sure that Frogun is gonna like get a second shot after like being run already last time in the any percent category. Because it's still a pretty niche title. Even though I love it a lot, it's still a pretty niche title. However, I do believe that the SNES category that's been developed since HDQ 2023 justifies giving this game another shot because I would say it's a better category than any percent like from a as a like speed game because it just pumps up everything. It's got more tricks, it's got more risky stuff that can be done realistically because this category is longer so you can like do that push and pull better. It shows off more of the game. It shows more tricks, more cool routes. I'm in love with this category. So yeah, so this is gonna be commentary, explanation stuff, but also my audition for GDQ. Anyway, without further ado, like this is a recording. I did this run 2 days ago, and I will play the video and start explaining. The first thing we do is turn on auto aim. I'll explain later why, because for now we're just gonna start with the run. So, Frogun is a 3D platformer where you have a Frogun, which is a gun that's also a frog, that can basically attach to any surface. So if you like grab onto a wall or an item, you either pick it up if it's small enough or you zip onto it. And that's our main mode of traversal. Grabbing onto things and zipping there is way faster than walking. So the idea is that you just like find the fastest way over the closest gaps to make it to the end. This is the SNES category. SNES stands for Speed Metal, Notes, Emeralds, and Skulls. You see all those things in this result screen there, actually. It basically means we get all the collectibles except the coins, because collecting coins is slow and takes a lot of time. Here we have to activate a button, so I'll take a sip of coffee. So the reason we turned auto-aiming on is because this game has an auto-aim feature, and you see that there's like a red reticle that that appears on enemies and things that you can attach to. And if that's there, you will automatically grab onto those things, even though you're not completely aiming in that direction. In some levels, it's very useful to have that for like very tricky, risky shots. In some levels, I'm going to turn it off because I do need the precision to like hit certain things and not accidentally like grab a pot or something. That would be bad. So coming up next is Twisty Bridge, level 1-3, and it's probably my favorite level in the first world because it's got the first really swaggy trick that's basically like a harbinger of things to come. We're getting our Emerald. Now we're gonna make our way to the Skull Zone. The way the collectibles work is the Emeralds and the Nodes you keep upon death. The Skull you don't. You have to make it to a checkpoint, which makes this one especially risky. This is the swaggy strat. We're gonna align ourselves a bit and then over there and back to that platform there. And that went perfectly. It's never gone that well, that trick. We could actually jump over that gap there, to make it faster to the end, but that's even more risky, and I'm like, okay, I did the swaggy thing, I'm just gonna go through the door. So what's interesting about the collectibles then is, since we keep some of the collectibles upon death, it opens the game up to death threats, where you death warp by collecting stuff, and then you kill yourself, and then you appear at the last checkpoint. We're gonna see that in the next level. In this level, we have a timer, basically. Like this one has a time restriction. The skull zone, the place where the skull is at the end of a big gap with a moving platform, and that platform appears at exactly 20 seconds. It's actually pretty easy to make that. Like, I barely struggled there, but I also didn't put much effort into it. You can get there with like 13 seconds on the timer. What you can do to make it more difficult is trying to get the first emerald before going to the platform. You saw me activate a green button earlier that lowered the platform where the first emerald is, and you can actually get that emerald and still make it to the platform. However, you have to basically play perfectly, and you barely save time. So the current world record in this level does not use that strategy, because it's a super long level already, and just making that first bit harder and then having to perform everything after that perfectly, that's ridiculous. I finished my coffee. This level also is the first very intentional use of damage boosting. You saw me do it earlier, you're gonna see me do it again. In the top left corner, you see our health. We start out with 3 health. And here we use 2 of those to just walk over that wall instead of going the slow way over the water. Over the course of this run, we're gonna increase our health. On the hub world, there's a couple of chests. And if we complete certain things like collecting all the stuff, which we coincidentally do, we can open them, which will give us 3 health over the course of this run. This is the first Jake level. Jake was the character we just saw on the overworld there with the snake gun. We're not gonna see him. In these levels, there's a cutscene trigger, but also in these levels, there's always a door that leads to the end, because the idea is that you do a chase with Jake through the level, then go back through the door, unintentional death there, and then collect all of the stuff. If you just ignore the cutscene trigger, if you just like find a way around it, we can explore as we want. So we're not gonna see Jake. This is the first death threat. That was an intentional death. We got the emerald and immediately died. So we can get back to the checkpoint where the skull was, conveniently. There's gonna be a lot of convenient things that make this speedrun possible. It's wonderful. And then we can do the rest of the level. Here I'm choking a bit, but thanks to the power of infinite wall climbing, we did not die there. What's infinite wall climbing? I'm glad you asked. Infinite wall climbing is a technique that works because you can shoot your Frogun exactly twice in the air. That is useful for several reasons. First of all, it gives you more airtime. So basically, imagine you have a moving platform under yourself, and it's just not quite there yet. You can shoot the Frogun and you just freeze in air for a moment, and then you can make it. And you can do that twice. The other thing that's cool is, if you grab onto something and like zip over there, it resets the counter of shots that you can take. So take that principle and apply it to a wall, and you can just infinitely climb up the wall, because every time you bonk into the wall, you gain a little bit of height. And yeah, here's some air stalling. That's exactly what I meant. Like, that was well-timed commentary. I used the airtime from the shot to make it over that gap. I wouldn't have been able to do that otherwise. This place here is nasty. Normally the idea is that you like grab onto the head there, get hit by a boulder, and then move over to the skull. However, for some reason, this specific instance is somehow like buggy, because I sometimes lose the ability to use the Frogun after being hit, and that's usually not the case. I have no idea how that works, actually. But yeah, sadly I died there because I ran out of health. But I this run may be the world record, but there's still lots of room for improvement, which I'm excited about personally. But also with this run, I was okay. I'm gonna do a no reset run because I want to get in a good run for my GDQ submission. So I'm just gonna like go ahead and do it and see what happens. Coming up is the first boss fight, Prickly, and Prickly is the only boss who has RNG that can screw us over. Prickly is gonna stomp, and then there's gonna be a fly, and there's also gonna be boulders. We need the fly to hurt Prickly, as we do here, but the boulders can also kill the fly. If that happens in the first phase, we're just screwed and have to like redo the first phase. It gets easier now because he stomps more now, and there's just going to be more flies, and it's very unlikely that all of the flies get hit by the boulders. And another interesting thing about this level is that you can actually leave the boss arena and get the skull during the boss fight. You can infinite wall climb out of there, and the skull zone is conveniently, again, right next to the arena. So if you're a really good player, you can start the battle, get into the third phase, which is the longest, get out of the arena, get the skull, get back in, finish the fight, and save a lot of time. Not save a lot of time. It is faster to do this way if you play perfectly. It's again one of those cases where the current world record does not use this strategy because it's so difficult to pull off. So you have to get everything perfectly, make it out of the arena perfectly, make it back in for it to work. Otherwise you lose one of the cycles. Anyway, that was World 1. This game has a total of 6 worlds. Each has a different theme, and the first level of each world is like a hallway. They always are dimly lit, they have this architecture and these kinds of items. And in the next level, the theme is going to be introduced. The first one was the temple, I suppose, and the second one is going to be the Goopy Swamp. This level is actually not so different in this category as in any percent, and there's actually quite a few levels where the collectibles are conveniently distributed close to where you would normally go. The more interesting levels are the ones where that is not the case, where the game makes us chase around the place to get everything. And again, conveniently, such a level is just gonna be around the corner. Next up is Goopy Swamp. In any percent, it's famous for being one of the shortest levels. In this category, it's famous. It's not famous. It's known for having a really cool death strat because, first of all, we're going to go into a very different corner of this level that we usually do not see in any percent. So we're going to make ourselves up there and get the Emerald. And there, right at the edge of the Goopy Swamp, is the nodes, and we're just gonna keep walking. And now we're gonna do the any percent thing. We're just gonna turn around. There's the end of the level, by the way. Just gonna go there, get the checkpoint for safety, and coming up is another very, very swaggy strat. If you know me, if you know my runs, you might know that I have sometimes a hard time getting world records because I refuse to not do swaggy things. But this time, this worked out beautifully. Like, I attached to that wall there, infinite wall climbed up, and hoped that I would, like, it's not 100% consistent. It is a bit, like, at this point, we don't know 100% how it works. There is a bit of luck involved if you want to get on top of a wall or something, but this time, it worked out perfectly. In the next level, I'm gonna deactivate auto-aiming because there's going to be a series of precise jumps, and this is a good opportunity to explain the perfect ledge grab. You can get onto a wall that is 2 tiles higher than yourself, like this, but you have to like hit it at a very specific point. It's not the highest point of your jump, but slightly below it, and if you hit that sweet spot, instead of attaching to the wall, as you would normally do, you actually perfectly get on top of it, which is sort of like a double jump. Like, you can get to heights that you normally wouldn't be able to with just jumping. That's one of the most important techs in this game. If you fail it, you can still infinite wall climb up further. That costs time. But like each perfect ledge grab, there's one again. Each perfect ledge grab like can save seconds that you would otherwise waste like infinitely wall climbing up there. There I missed one. That would have also been an opportunity for a perfect ledge grab. But yeah. But yeah, the reason I turned off auto aiming was the beginning of the level. This series of jumps was actually pretty difficult. Luckily, it went really, really, really well. So, cheers to that. These are the ancient sewers. The fun thing about this level is that at the end of it, there's an elevator that takes us to the final platform where the goal is. And this elevator is on an 11-second cycle. So if you miss one cycle, you have to wait 11 seconds to get another chance. There's a different strategy you can use if you miss it. That's a bit riskier, but doesn't lose as much time. But yeah. Lovely fellow runner, Giza Maluk, actually improved the route for this quite a bit. I did most of the routing for this category. A lot of it has also been done by a fellow runner called Cyclone FN. But yeah, Giza Maluk took basically almost all of my individual level runs, all of the routes, and just like perfected them in one way or another. And thanks to that route, it's actually not that hard to make it to the elevator in the right cycle. There I had like a twitch where I wanted to go to the keyboard to activate the split, but anyway. One scary thing about this category is actually like forgetting about something. Before this run, I did a stream, and I was a bit out of practice still. Like I had done some individual level runs to get like back into shape, and then I started the stream, and it just went horribly. I just forgot a skull or two, and things went wrong in ways that they have never gone wrong before. But yeah. This one went much better. It's important to pay close attention that you actually get everything and don't accidentally like default to an any percent mindset in the middle of the run. There I accidentally forgot that I had already turned off auto aiming, and coming up is more swaggy stuff. This is one of the coolest levels in this world. I'm trying to get up on that wall there, which is a bit more difficult than other ledge grabs because it's slightly lower than usual, but it's the best way to get there. And now another big leap into the skull zone. Very risky. There is a more risky version of this where you immediately attach to the hole there, but I didn't want to risk that. That's much more risky. Yeah, also one nasty thing about this level, these red platforms, you have to activate them to get the skull, because if you leave the skull zone, you're just dumped immediately above the swamp and die, unless you have activated the red button. So that's why it's important that we first get to the end of the level to activate that button, so we don't die after getting the skull. By the way, that was the second Jake level, where we again did not see Jake. In the beginning, we bypassed the cutscene trigger very generously. So now we're coming up with boss number 2, who is Kiki. This boss level is notable for being the level where you leave. It's the level where you're like, have you ever felt so annoyed by a boss that you just leave? Although, why would you be annoyed by Kiki? Because look at those like wristbands. They're iconic. But yeah, luckily you can leave this boss arena. Similar to Prickly, it's just way easier. And what we're going to do now is collect everything. We're not just going to get all of the emeralds, we're also going to get all of the coins. Conveniently, you can hit Kiki from outside of the arena. So we'll just do the fight, and in between, like while Kiki is doing all of his attacks, we're just going to like walk around and collect everything. Why are we getting all the coins? Good question. Thanks you asked. Right after this level, conveniently, it's one of those conveniences again, one of those quinkydings. Right after this level, there's a chest, and you can open this chest if you have one of the coin medals, and you get the coin medal if you collect every coin in one level. And conveniently, you can collect all of the coins in this level and not lose any time. Like, this is literally as fast as it would be if you would just hang out in the boss arena. So, yeah, a lot of really, really, really wonderful conveniences and coincidences that are coming together here that allow us to do everything and still be fast. So, currently we're in the final phase of Kiki. We're just going to do some cleanup. The pots with the green stripes, they have coins in them. The ones with the red ones don't. And yeah, now we have all of the coins. In the top left corner, you can see the counter. There's the second emerald. And now I'm just like waiting. That's the final attack. And when the timer hits 150, that's when I'm gonna like go back in. So I don't miss the vulnerability period that Kiki has. And that's world number 2. The coffee is empty. My water, however, is not. So there's the chest with the heart. Coming up is the next hallway level. This one is another one of my favorite levels, and I'm probably going to say that a lot. This is a really good showcase for this game in this category, because it's got so many like cut corners, like this very swaggy jump. Another perfect ledge grab. We're going into the skull zone, which is conveniently on the route. Another perfect ledge grab. Just like a lot of skipping level architecture with all of our cool tech. Going to do the perfect ledge grab again. We're not going to take that elevator there. We're just going to go up there. And yeah, infinite wall climbing up there. Do you know Mario level 1, 2 in Mario Bros? We can go up onto the wall, but then we leave because we want to be fast. And there is a big fly. They're called big boys, I think. Big fly boy? I don't know. There's just so much cool stuff coming together in this level. This is a very risky bit where you could try and get on top of that pillar. You can try many different things to make this more fast, but I try to keep it safe because the rest of the level went perfectly. And I also took the checkpoint just for safety because I did not want to drop this level at this point. So yeah, that was the hallway level. So coming up as the next theme, we had the temple, we had the swamp, and now we're going into... I didn't time that well. The snow world. And this is where things start to get really, 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 really cool. Like, if you liked the run so far, now things just get like ridiculous. Every level in this world is my favorite level, except the boss maybe, I don't know. Coming up is an unfortunate death, so we take that pot there, and I can explain that briefly because I'm gonna die now. I told you that you can shoot your Frogun twice in the air. If you have an item and shoot it in the air, you still retain your original 2 shots. So you're gonna air stall, and you basically get an extra shot in the air. That makes some of these more difficult jumps possible. So I'm trying this a second time, not because it's faster, because at this point, if I were a smart person, I would have gone the casual way into the skull zone, but I was like, no, I do want this trick to be in this run. So I may have lost some time, but I got to show off a thing, and that's also important, right? So we're gonna get onto that button. Conveniently, again, there's the second emerald. And now we're gonna make our way through the rest of the level just as per the any % route. Also, I turned auto-aiming back on, specifically for some of these shots there, like the mushroom and the 2 snowmen right afterwards. They're quite difficult to perfectly hit, and if you have auto-aiming on, you basically, it's free, more or less, if you know how to push controller in direction. Coming up, Cold Cave, one of my favorite levels, actually. One of my favorites, actually, because it's got a really, really cool trick that I found, and I'm still a bit proud of that, because I felt like a speedy gamer there. But first, we're gonna have to collect some stuff. The nodes are right there, and conveniently, right next to it, there's the skull zone. And these seesaws, they're actually pretty cool because you can actually just easily get onto them with infinite wall climbing, because when you attach to them, they lower themselves a bit, so you can just walk on top. which makes it very, very fast to just grab onto them when they're there. But yeah, we're almost there at the very, very cool trick that I'm hyping up. First, we're going to get on top of that seesaw, like I just explained. Then we activate that button for 1 to get to the first emerald, and for 2, we're going to grab this here pot, get the emerald, we air stall, jump, bounce to the wall, and up there. This is way faster than the alternative route. Like, this easily saves probably like 10 seconds. I don't know. I don't time this stuff. And yeah, like, that's a trick I found, and I think it's pretty cool, and I like it. I don't know. But yeah, got that second emerald, and now we're gonna make our way down and finish the level. It's really, really cool. Coming up is level 3-4. Wait, what's the name? Slidey Spiky Cave, I think. I'm fuzzy with the names in the game because I knew all of them at some point, and then I didn't need my notes anymore. But yeah, now we have 6 health. We're just gonna make damage boosting, which we've already done a bit, way safer, and we're gonna need that later in the game. But yeah, Slidey Spiky Cave is, in my opinion, one of the more difficult levels. Like, casually and as a speedrun, I think it's a bit of a difficulty spike because of the very difficult architecture. But yeah, first we're gonna make our way to the Skull Zone, which is conveniently right next to the any percent route. However, very soon we're gonna divert quite a bit from the default route. The notes are there behind the icicles. If you jump perfectly and grab, you like, normally you would get hit by them, and the idea is to like destroy them in some way, but you can just like get over them in other ways. Coming up is a really, really neat trick where you exploit the architecture. So you see that arc over there, and if you grab onto it, you can just barely stand next to it and get the emerald without having to deal with the intended route. And here I have to give credit again to Giza Maluk, who has found a good route through this thing. Like, there's this weird castle area, and the emerald is on top of it, and I did not want to bother with finding the perfect route through this here thing. I think he did it. I wouldn't know if there's an even better route, but I stole it for this run, basically. It's really cool that this area is there in this level. I like this little castle place. In the any percent run, you just like jump from up there where the door was and like make it there, but yeah, it's a cool route. However, coming up is one of my favorite levels, but this is actually my favorite one in this world, and maybe top 3 favorite in the entire run. This is another Jake level. We just skipped the cutscene trigger by walking over this fence. I'm failing this jump. I never failed this jump before. Now I keep failing it for no reason. And this is still the intended route. There's the green emerald, and now we're just gonna go off the rails. We're just gonna take this architecture here and go to the backside of it where you're not supposed to be. Then we get on top of that there, if I get to make that work. And you see that snowman over there? We're just gonna like leap down there. And then we just jump up this slope that you're supposed to slide down. But the less tilted places, you can actually walk on them, so why not? Also, there's trees. Trees have weird architecture, like hitboxes, so we're just gonna jump onto them as well, right? So, see that pillar? We can also just grab onto that. So now we have 2 emeralds, we have notes, we're missing the skull, and we had no checkpoint. So this level is also extremely risky, because there's no checkpoints in it. Which makes this swaggy jump especially cool, because now we have the skull, and now we just have to make it to the end of the level. However, it's still super scary, because if we die now, we lose the skull, and then we have to redo that. But luckily, this level just went perfectly. Like, I think every trick worked. I did slide down the slope, but apart from that, that was just, like, perfect. So I'm very glad that worked out like that. Coming up is Wintry. Wintry is the last boss where you can sort of like... it's the last boss where you can actually leave the boss arena. We're not gonna do that in this run, even though it would be faster. The reason for that is that it's incredibly risky to do, and it's even harder to do it fast. Let me explain. So we're just gonna get all of the collectibles before starting the boss fight. You see that hole there? You can actually get there if you grab an enemy and air stall over there and grab onto the wall there. And then you can leave the boss arena. If you do that, you can get all of the collectibles and you save time on the first loop of Wintry. Like, you have to do it in the first loop because you have to keep that enemy, and if you want to hit Wintry, you would have to like let go of the enemy. So you have to do it right at the beginning. Then the first cycle loops, but you have all of the collectibles, saving a bit of time. However, there is an even more ridiculous way to do all of that. In phases 3 and 4, Wintry, the boss, she's gonna throw some ice pillars at you, like a whole bunch, like it's just gonna be like a whole bunch of pillars. And the cool thing about that is you can actually grab onto those pillars. So if we are lucky, that's like the one part. It's very RNG based because you don't know from where all of the pillars are gonna come. They always come from one direction, but it's random. You also don't know the pattern in which the pillars come, and you still have to use them, like grab onto one of the pillars and then grab onto the wall where the skull zone is. And you have to do that twice, because you can do it once in phase 3, get some of the collectibles, and do it again in phase 4 and get the rest. And no. No. It's incredibly risky. If you slip up, you die. Like, there's no way to recover if you fail. Like, these are the pillars. Looks fun, right? Yeah, it's incredibly risky. I do not recommend it for a full game run unless you are absolutely ridiculous in the best way, but I don't do it because also in my previous world record run I actually died quite a bit here trying to get that trick to work. I wanted to do the swaggy thing, not the one with the pillars, but the one with the enemy, which is already plenty risky. But yeah, I didn't. Anyway, the other thing to say about this boss fight is that you may have noticed that at the end of each phase, Wintry summons some pillars, and that we can hit her then afterwards. If we stand very close to her and the hitbox is actually lenient enough that you don't get hurt if you do it right, you just stand up there on her with her on the pillar and can immediately hit her, saving some seconds. It's actually the only boss where you can actually accelerate the phase in some way. Everything else is on a set pattern that always works the same. This is the only thing where you can like do a shortcut, actually. Which I failed here for the last hit. But alas. Need to drink more water. What I want to highlight is that I finished this level at exactly the 30-minute mark. I just like that. Boom. The next hallway is Steep Descent. Steep Descent is wonderful because this level has a lot of death planes that are supposed to make us go down slowly. However, if you know where these death planes are, you can actually jump over them. So we take the level Steep Descent and turn it into a way steeper descent. Here I choked and I clenched my butt, and it was very scary. Like, I luckily recovered there with the power of infinite wall climbing. It is a very powerful move. Like, it's also one of the most important techs in this game. And it's very powerful for recovery if you slip up. So yeah, there's a bunch of death planes there, but I conveniently jumped over them. And we're going to do a slight detour into the corner here to get the notes. And then we could go right to play the level normally, but that's not fast. So we're going to take the mouse here, air stall over the death plane, and luckily, conveniently, down there is the end of the level. It's wonderful. Probably one of the coolest hallways in this run. But I just keep saying that everything is the coolest. You may have noticed that I'm quite enthusiastic about this category. Anyway, the big reveal, the next world is the Fire World. And this is where things get really, really, really cool. Like, Worlds 3 and 4 are incredibly cool with the tricks that they have. In this level, the route is pretty close to any percent. Like, the way that we're going here is basically the same way that we're going in any percent, because the collectibles are just there. I have auto-aiming on still to like make these shots easier. And the only sneaky thing about this level is the skull zone, which is actually... Oh no, I did not actually fall. Like, there's the skull zone, it's hidden right there, and we're just gonna get the skull. But beyond that, it's basically the any percent route. A level that's very different from its any percent route, however, is the next one. And it's actually really, really cool. Another shout out to Giza Maluk, who improved this route. It used to be a route with a death strat, but Giza Maluk is just smart and found just a way faster way to do things, which I will explain in just a second. So in the beginning, we're just going to do like some some zipping, and normally I was going to go to the right where the first emerald is, but you can actually just attach to the fire pillars, which I knew was possible, but I did not consider just going over there, which is way faster than dying and resetting. But anyway, here I choke a bit, and again, through the sheer power of infinite wall climbing, we can get up there again. And coming up is another swaggy jump to the fly, to the fire pillar. That was scary, actually. That would have been very sad if I had died there. And back up there. Like, every level, in my book, every level where you enter the skull zone through an unintended way is a very cool level. Luckily, also, the levels where you don't do that are likely also really, really cool. But yeah, conveniently, like that's a word that the run is defined by convenience, basically. Conveniently, the skull zone drops us right next to the second emerald, and here I'm choking a bit again, and I'm falling, so that's unfortunate, but luckily it doesn't lose a lot of time. There's actually not very many unintentional deaths in this run, which is not a given, because this level can be harsh. With losing time on deaths. But yeah, coming up is the Tar Swamp, which is a notorious level in the any percent run because it's the level with the biggest skip, which is super difficult and not entirely consistent. All of that is still there, just differently. Like, it's still notoriously difficult. It's got super cool tricks. I'm turning auto-aiming off because I need to be able to do precise shots that can very easily be hindered by other items. But yeah, it starts out innocently enough. We make our way up to that tower there to get the first emerald, and now we're just gonna go off the rails again. We're gonna grab that pot for some air stalling. We're gonna get over there to that thing. Usually you're supposed to activate some buttons to make platforms appear. We don't do that. We air stall some more, then we're gonna make our way to that dragon head over there. And then usually in any percent, we go up there from the other side. Now we take a slight detour for more collectibles, but yeah. That was all very, very difficult. This is also very, very difficult. So I'm taking the checkpoint there for safety, because I do not want to redo any of that again. But yeah, all of the things you just saw were really, really, really tricky. So this level really does not lose any of its notoriety between categories. But yeah, last thing to do is get the emerald. There I almost slipped up. Shout out to the black orbs that are here for grabbing onto. Like, I don't know, it's such a wonderful, silly decision. I just imagine, like, where it's like, okay, I need a grabbable thing for the tar world. What can I do? Just like a black blob of tar. And it's just like, I don't know. I like that. Shout out to the black orb, the tar orb, Torb. Anyway, coming up is another Jake level. Are we gonna see Jake in this level? The answer is no. First of all, I'm gonna turn auto-aiming back on, because what we're gonna do is we just jump into the lava, because Renata can't swim. Renata drowns in the tar and in the goop, but she can actually very conveniently walk on lava. It just hurts a bit. Here we can just grab the emerald out of the air, make a 180, and grab that pot and get back. Usually you'd have to activate a button, but we don't do that here. This is a scary level, by the way, because you do so much damage boosting. Having 4 health here is super helpful, because you can die here. It happens. If you don't do the damage boosting correctly in the first part. Luckily, after the skull zone, we get to a checkpoint. Checkpoints, they refill health. conveniently. That's very good because we're not done with the damage boosting yet. We're at the end of the level, but we're still missing an emerald, and we have to do like a cumbersome detour over this lava that you're normally going the other way around. But there's enough stuff around that allows us to go the way backwards. And here's the second emerald. We used to do a death strat here. I will do the death strat anyway because I failed this one. Usually you can grab onto the lava and walk on top of it, but if you miss that, you fall through it. But in this case, that's fine because you just automatically revert to the alternative route, which uses the death warp. So it does not lose that much time to fail this particular trick. And just like that, we're already at the end of World 4. World 4's boss is Scorchy, and the way to Scorchy is, again, very, very cool. It does make this level so much more difficult, but also satisfying. First, we have to get the nodes there behind these dragons. And I have no idea why I was not hit by the fire there. I very clearly was still in there when I grabbed onto the mushroom, but apparently there was something funny going on with hitboxes. I don't know. Coming up, a swaggy jump. It used to be super difficult. Now it's not anymore because of this there. We noticed that you can just grab out of being hit animation, and if you do that in that, you automatically grab onto the wall after being hit by the lava, and you don't... Like, ever since that, I think I have never fallen through the lava there again. Here I'm waiting, because I only have 3 health, and I did not want to die in this level, because it's very annoying to do so. So I'm getting the skull, I'm playing it a bit safe, also because I'm noticing that I'm on a good pace, so I do want to do things safe. There's going to be a very funny choke later on in this level. You can also grab onto fire tornadoes, because it's a Frogun, right? Of course it can grab onto fire tornadoes. Why would I get a Frogun if I could not attach to fire tornadoes with it, right? Anyway, second emerald got, making our way back over there, and I have auto-aiming still on, and it shouldn't be on now. That's why I accidentally grabbed that pot, and now the power of air stalling, like I would have died here if I had not been able to stall time in the air. Interesting to note is that it hadn't been always like that. The fact that you can grab twice in the air was introduced via a patch to make the game easier, and it unintentionally introduced infinite air climbing. I would argue that that made the game much more fun to do as a speed game, because on one hand it's less risky to do a lot of the tricks, so that like the skill floor is lowered? Yes, the skill floor is lowered, but also because you have infinite wall climbing, it allows you to do way, way riskier things. So, like, I think it's a positive change. It was a good patch that allowed, like, it makes it more accessible, but also, like, everything is wilder. Speaking of things that are wild, Scorchy, the boss, has a wild outfit. I really love it. I love this whole, like, 90s grunge thing. That's super cool. Design-wise, one of the best bosses. However, the fight is, I mean, luckily for us, not very hard. You've already seen all of the tricks that Scorchy does. Like, he charges at you, drops some boulders, does some fire rings, and then he bumps into a block. So it's definitely... It is probably the easiest out of all the bosses, I would say. I already got hit twice, so who am I to talk? But usually it's very hard to die on this boss if you know what to do. And this is like here I'm doing like some silly like turning in the air. Like what I love about this game is that Renata can do a 360 while in the air. Games that do that are automatically good. Notable example, Kingdom Hearts. Like if you can do a 360 while jumping, like that's a feat. Like try doing that and keeping that level of control. Just saying. But yeah, I think I'm looking at the time, so we're in the final phase of the Scorchy fight. So he's just gonna do some more nifty little back and forth do the fire rings a little bit more. And he's gonna be sneaky. Like normally after the fire rings, he just goes into his final attack where you can be hurt afterwards. But here he's like, no, I'm gonna trip you up. So he's just gonna charge at you two more times, and bounce into the ground. And yeah, that's the end of it. So Worlds 3 and 4 were amazing. Like, there's such cool levels, so many cool tricks. Worlds 5 and 6 are here to break you. They still have very cool tricks. There's still so much swaggy stuff going on that I'm excited about, but also Worlds 5 and 6 are there to break you. It just gets very, very difficult from here. First, we have the hallway level. What's notable about this one is that you don't have just one, but two death warps in this one. In any percent, this level is super short. It's like barely 10 seconds, I think. And this is like the level where all the collectibles are very far off the any percent route. Because in any percent, you can basically take a couple of grabs and you're just at the goal. But here, the one emerald is here, in that corner, and there's no way to make this... Technically, you could grab onto the moving platforms, but that would be ridiculously risky. Like, you wouldn't want to do that in a full game run of this game, because it's super difficult to get on top of moving platforms, and then multiple of them. Don't do it. I mean, do it, but I'm not going to do it. But yeah, now we have to get these notes that are, like, you have to make a detour while on a detour. But yeah, now we have those two things, so we're gonna die once, get back to the beginning of the level, because now we have to go into an entirely different corner of this level. Here I'm struggling a bit getting on top of that wall. Here I was a bit scared because I had auto-aiming on and you can accidentally grab those mice, but they were far away, so that was still fine. And right after this skull zone, there's gonna be a big gap where the checkpoint is, because we do need to get a checkpoint to not lose the skull. Otherwise, the rest of this route doesn't work. Luckily, there's a checkpoint close by, and there's a big gap leading over there. And it's like a very precise air stalling that I luckily managed to do. Also convenient that I got that checkpoint, because now I accidentally die. But yeah, that was, again, not a huge time loss. I think like the unintentional deaths that I took in this run, they were very light on my time. So yeah, getting the second emerald, another death warp, and now we return to the any percent route. Like normally you just get here, and then you jump down there, and there's the end of the level. Like, I love this level, frankly, because it's the one where it's like, okay, we're just gonna make you go everywhere if you want to collect everything. We do have to get the speed medal in each level, which means beating the level in a certain amount of time. The timer resets if you die, and we're going to use that later on. Also in the level we just saw, it was definitely used, because I'm not sure if you can get everything and get the speed medal without the death warping. But yeah, we're going to use that later on, because the level timer resets, and the level timer is what counts for the speed medal. So there's going to be a couple of levels where the timing is a bit tight, and I'm going to take an intentional death in order to make that, basically. This is the worst skull zone out of all of them. And spoiler alert, I'm going to die here. This combines everything I hate about World 5. It has the spiky pillars, which are frankly fine. It has the spiders, and it has the invisible blocks. It's like the holy trifecta of making things awful for me in this game. And yeah, I took a death there. I would say it's the most difficult one, because the cycles of the spiders can screw you over. Your timing with the pillars can screw you over. Your aim with the invisible blocks can screw you over. Everything here is just there to make life hard for you. So I'm taking it a bit safer now. Like, you're gonna notice me maybe being a bit safer, because I'm in the final two worlds, and the run is actually going really good, despite some unintentional deaths. So yeah, I don't want to screw it over, and sadly, Worlds 5 and 6 are designed for that. So I'm waiting here. I could have jumped for that spider, but that would have meant my death, probably. But the rest of this level now is very similar to the any percent route again, which actually isn't too bad because you do not want to spend a lot of time exploring World 5 levels because everything is there to kill you. There's the Emerald. What you don't see is there's an invisible wall there, so you have to go the other way around. And even though it's a bit slower, I'm getting the checkpoint here first. Because I actually died after getting the Emerald here before. If you land on those big tusks, you can slide off and jump to your death. That's happened to me once, so I'm always getting that checkpoint again. I'm always taking the checkpoint when it comes. But yeah, coming up is World 5-3, which is Chamber of Spooks. Chamber of Spooks has one of the, if not the coolest trick in the game. It was found by me. It was perfected by Trader, who currently has the any percent world record. And it's just like a cool jump. It's like very, very swaggy. It's going to be a zigzag over thin air, and it's coming right now. We're getting the notes, and grab, 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 mushroom, boom. It's very easy to die there. I made that look easy, but I don't think it is. But yeah, now we're gonna get the skull. And also, this is where, like, you've already noticed this is where the skull zones start to get really mean. There's a lot of jumping over thin air, a lot of, like, precise aiming. It's atrocious, really. Anyway, we now have to take a detour, because there's this red button that we have to activate, so we can activate a different button. There's also going to be a lot of buttons starting from now on that we have to activate, because we haven't found a workaround for that yet. Usually there's a green button that you need to push to open the door to get to the red button, but we could jump from the outside, but we have to push the red button to get to this yellow button, which we will get to after I died unintentionally. Again, another death right next to the checkpoint, like, that was nice. Because, yeah, we need these yellow platforms to get to the Emerald. I have not yet found a way to get to that Emerald without those yellow blocks. The level would be way faster without that, but also we got to go do a cool trick. So, it's a give and take, right? So, coming up is Dark Place. And Dark Place used to be the worst level, period. Because of GDQ, AGDQ 2023, it might be one of my, like, secret favorites, or at least, like, I kind of like it now. And that's because, like, in the day before the Frogun run at AGDQ 2023, like, Trader was doing practice, and I was there because I was doing commentary, and there and then we found a new skip in this very level that skips a whole bunch of it, and it's so cool, and it was found by Trader by complete accident, and that makes this level very, very cool. And a variation of that very same trick is still in the SNES category. So, but the level is still very bad. As you see, there's spiders, there's invisible blocks. Here I wait, because if you grab onto the spider and then it leaves, you die. It does not allow you to get over there still. Like, if you grab onto it and then it decides to leave, that's it. So usually, you would have already jumped down here. But we need that Emerald. However, I still want to do the swaggy thing. So we're going to get past this pot and then just jump down. We're going to do some air stalling to, like, get over the death plane. And there we are. That's, like, way late in the level. We skipped a whole lot of stuff. And yeah, there's the skull zone. Another one that's just out there to get you. Like, all of these platforms are breakable. If you remain on them for too long, they break and you die. Luckily, the game is like, okay, these 4 we're gonna make not breakable, because that would be mean. But as you're seeing, I'm playing it very safe right now. Like, I'm a bit tense at this moment. I'm like, okay, if I keep this pace, this is gonna be a really cool new world record. Like, the old world record was 117 something, 50 something, I don't know. So yeah, I was like, okay, I'm gonna beat the world record by a huge margin. So I wanted this to be a good run. Also, I wanted to apply for GDQ, so, like, I wanted this run to be good, and it's like a couple of days until the deadline, so I needed this to go well. But yeah, next up is World 5-5. And World 5-5 is another Jake level. The big question is, are we gonna see Jake? The answer is yes. This is the one level where you're gonna see Jake. There's no way to skip the cutscene trigger. So this is Jake. There's a cool music that only plays during the chases. But we still are gonna break the level. First of all, we're gonna get up to this wall and go through the door, which brings us to the end of the level where there is a checkpoint that we need, because there's gonna be a death strat again. So we're grabbing onto that pillar, getting the green emerald, and this level is like very convenient again, because I was routing this and I was already like, oh no, the stuff is gonna be all over the place, it's gonna be horrible. But we already have one emerald, and we don't have to walk far to get to the second emerald, and over there, like right next to them, there's the notes, and then we just die. Now we're getting back to the checkpoint. The chase is over. If you die, it resets the chase, so Jake is gone again. We'd have to reactivate the cutscene. So we're not even gonna finish the race. And again, a skull zone full of tricky jumps. It's very, like, at this point I have auto-aiming on, and I keep it on for the rest of the level because it's very useful, especially like for these kinds of jumps, because it makes it way easier to hit the flying skulls and the mushrooms in midair. You may have noticed that the time is sometimes white and sometimes blue. That's because there's actually two speed medals. There's like a speed medal and a master medal that's an even faster time. But yeah, like in some of them you have to be like do ridiculous stuff to make that time. Like even like when you do it casually. This is Hexy. Hexy, the collectibles in Hexy, they're not that special because everything except the skull is on the route. However, the skull zone is again one of the worst things. I also think I'm taking a death here. Yes, I could have zipped onto that pillar there and somehow climbed up, but I think it's actually easier that I just died here and took another shot at it. So yeah. Anyway. Yeah, doing some difficult jumpy jumps. But this is like the last breather before the rest of the game is there to destroy you, basically. So there's that. There's this. And the second emerald is right up there, and we can just zip over there, and it actually makes this part that's actually a bit scary in any percent, at least for me. It makes it bearable, I would say. And this is Hexy. Hexy is probably my favorite boss, like as a whole package. The design is cool. The attacks are varied. You see she has like a bunch of spells that are like elemental. And also she has the psychic ball. She has a powerful psychic ball that chases you around the arena. However, if you focus really hard, you can withstand the psychic power of the psychic ball with Renata's own psychic power and just shoot it back. Of course, that was a lie. There's an exploit. If you just don't move when she summons the psychic ball, it just doesn't do anything. You can just wait until you can pick it up to shoot it back at Hexy. That's a wonderful exploit that this fight has. And there's like this icy wind, and you can just, if you are fast enough and go like through the inner part of the circle, you can just go to the outside of it, and then it's a completely harmless attack. So a lot of cheesing in this battle, which makes this fight kind of easy, even though like when I started running this game I died a lot here, not gonna lie. These waves kept tripping me up. There they did it again, like they're still doing it. It's always the same pattern. I still get hit by it occasionally. Luckily we have 6 health. But yeah, even though like the whole package of this boss is my favorite, it's a bit of a pushover because you can cheese so much of this fight, and the attacks aren't as difficult to dodge. That's not the same for the final boss. Like the final boss is actually no pushover whatsoever. Also, the final boss is like the second biggest choke point in this category, because like even though you have 6 health and even though it's not such a difficult fight, it can trip you up. And the fight is 3 minutes long. So if you die late into the fight, you're losing 3 minutes. That's bad, right? Here, however, we do not lose any time. We don't die. And that's World 5 out of 6 out of the way. So coming up is the final hallway, which I would say is the most difficult one to do fast because it has a lot of very precise jumps that I am about to fail. I'm setting the expectations here. Yeah, I'm gonna try to get up there, and I don't do it fast enough, so the spiders leave, so I try to perfectly grab up there, but I fail, and at this point I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna die and try it again. However, 2 times the charm in this case, so this is how it's supposed to go, going there, going to the spider, and then I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna immediately jump over there, because that would be very sad if I died now, so I'm gonna play it safe. We activate that button that opens a door, and here we're going to take an intentional death that we don't have to take. Here I take the death to reset the timer to make extra sure that I'm going to get the speed medal, because there's a lot of things that can go wrong in this level. There's this difficult infinite wall climb that can take forever. There's this perfect ledge grab that I'm about to do that is it going to go wrong? I think, nah, it's not going to go wrong, but it can go wrong. And yeah, it's just nice to have that like extra 17 seconds of having that extra 17 seconds to be like, okay, I can make mistakes if they happen in a full game run. But yeah, we're getting the skull, and then there's one last very tricky jump where you want. First, I actually lost orientation for a tiny moment. And there's the second emerald, and it's actually very difficult to get up there perfectly because the mushroom actually gives you too much height. So it's very difficult to hit that sweet spot where you like just land on top of the platform. But yeah, that's all the collectibles. The goal is right around the corner. There it is. And now we're gonna go to the final world, which is the world of, I timed it right, the treasure world. So this is where things get really serious. The levels in this world, they're not as linear as the rest of the game. The goal is somewhere and the collectibles are somewhere else. First, we're gonna have to activate a button. Then we have to go back to collect an emerald. And again, I'm going to take an intentional death, not because I have to, but just to have that extra buffer of time. Because in this level, you can actually use it if you're doing a full game run and don't want to redo the level to get the speed medal. Anyway, behind this structure, there's the notes. Here I, for some reason, infinitely wall climbed, even though I didn't have to. There was a faster way up there, but I brain farted, I think. Shout out to the big worm. I love the big worm. And usually you'd get to the end. To the left you can see the end of the level, but we still have the stuff to get. So we're gonna make our way around here. I almost choked there. Like, that wasn't perfect, but I could just easily retry the trick. Shout out to Gizamaluk who found this route. We're gonna activate this blue button. That's also not necessary. There is a riskier, faster way to get further, but as I said, I'm playing it safe. I do want this run to go very well. Coming up, super swaggy jump. There's this whole thing. We're going to ignore it. We're going to turn around, get the skull, and leave. Taking a tiny leap of faith. The mushroom, the pillar, and that's the end of the level. So that's World 6. World 6 pushes you to the boundaries of what can be asked of a human being. That's also the case for the next level, which probably is my favorite in this category because it has in this world because it has the swaggiest jump. So first of all, we're gonna get the notes there, and then we're gonna take another intentional death warp. You don't have to do that. You can actually also make it without dying, and it's a bit faster, but it's safer to just like reset it here and go over there instead of making your way back. So swaggy jump. This is maybe the hardest or one of the top 3 hardest tricks in this category because the hitboxes of the grasshoppers, they're super finicky. You can grab onto the wall below them, but that's way riskier because then you have to infinitely wall climb up there. Everything about this trick can screw you over, so getting that first try is really, really cool. It actually is still worthwhile to go, like, to try it multiple times because it saves a lot of time. Because you don't have to bother with going to the hole to the skull zone. But yeah, it's super difficult. So I'm playing it a bit more safe here, like I mentioned. And that's half off World 6. So I actually have to just go AFK for just a moment. However, you're gonna see a very cool level, but I don't want to interrupt this recording because I also want to submit this to speedrun.com. So enjoy this level without commentary. Hello again. This was a test. Could you follow this level? If yes, then I did good commentary. But sometimes real life strikes and I die in level 5-5 and you have to think up stuff for yourself. So yeah, this is level 6-4. As you saw, it made you go through all of the corners again. But coming up is level 6-5, and level 6-5 in any percent is the shortest level. The world record for level 6-5 is under 3 seconds. Shout out to Nocturne18, who's like rad at this level. However, in SNES, this is the hardest level in the game. Like, because it's a chase level, so we're gonna go up there to skip the cutscene trigger. It's a chase level, so there's no checkpoints whatsoever because the game wants you to do the chase in one go, right? So we have to get everything and finish the level, and everything is here to kill you. A perfect ledge grab here, which is not free. I'm very happy that worked first try. Not the worst, but still a very difficult skull zone where lots of stuff can go wrong. We have everything. We have like disappearing platforms. We have breaking platforms. We have jewels, we have zigzagging over thin air. There's everything in this level, and that's not even the worst of it. Like, this is... Now we have the skull, and we cannot die, and there's no checkpoint. Like, everything, like, every mistake in this level costs a lot of time, basically. A very lucky perfect ledge grab there. That's not usual that you get that first try. Also, this went very fast. Now we gotta get down there to get the second emerald. And the first emerald, and the second one is right around the corner, just another perfect ledge grab away that I fail, but luckily you can use these pillars to get back up there and get it. And now we have to finish the level, and it's not super difficult, but it's also not free. There's these red jewels in the back, and they have very scary death planes around them. So you can try to do shortcuts around this area here, but I refuse to because I don't want to die. And we're close to the finish, but you're gonna notice that I'm like very, very hesitant because I'm just gonna be very casual because I don't wanna risk losing this run because this would have been a significant time loss, like probably 2 minutes. But yeah, I take one final look. Like now we can see the overview. There's I didn't actually check at the end, but I think we have everything. I'm pretty sure we have everything. This is the final level. This is Beelzebub. The good thing about Beelzebub is that the collectibles it's a very linear level, so the collectibles are all close to the path. So there's the first emerald, and you can already see the notes. They're just on the other side of this walkway here. The other emerald is actually right behind the hole that leads to the boss. So it's just sneakily hidden, but not difficult to reach. But the skull zone is actually just like part of the level, and it's a doozy. I really do not like this. I'm also gonna die now. It's really cool to do commentary past the run because I know when I die all the time. It's cool. But yeah, it consists entirely of emeralds, like the flying gems, the invisible walkways, the brick, everything that's horrible and wants to kill you is here. And we're gonna use this mushroom to make it over there, just bypass all of the moving platforms. And there's the skull, and that technically was the last very difficult thing that we did. So the end of the run is basically just fight the boss. We're entering the final area of the game, like one final victory lap up a big pile of golden stairs. I also was very scared. I was like, okay, I cannot accidentally fall into this hole. Although I could just restart the checkpoint. That wouldn't even be so bad. But yeah, getting the final emerald, the final collectible. Now we just have to fight Beelzebub. And I told you Beelzebub is no pushover. This attack, the pattern of these shots, they're random. And even if you're really good and used to this fight, this can still trip you up if you're unlucky. And once you start tripping up, you start to trip up all the time. Anyway, the way you hurt this boss is by pulling these chandeliers under his butt at the end of each phase. And you're gonna notice that Beelzebub uses attacks from all of the bosses we've encountered so far. So you just saw the stomping of Prickly. And we're gonna see an attack by Kiki that we did not see in the run because we were busy collecting coins back then. But yeah, he zigzags around the arena, and you want to align Beelzebub parallel to the wall so you can just easily avoid it. However, I brain farted, and I forgot that he does the attack twice. So now I'm scared, because this can... that was close, but luckily nothing happened. But that's the end of phase 2. The boss has a total of 5 phases. It's, like I said, it's a 3-minute boss fight. I actually died once in this fight at a marathon. I think it was fine, but it's still unfortunate because it's a long fight. Phase 3 gives us the power of Wintry. This is supposed to be like the pillars that are being thrown, where you have to hide behind a thing to not get hit. So that's the variation on that, and Beelzebub does that twice. It's actually there's a mischievous hitbox here. It happened to me before that I thought I perfectly stood behind the pillar, and I was still hit. I didn't like that. But yeah, what's also cool, if you have auto aiming on, you can also if you have it off, but it's way easier if you have it on. You can just stand in the middle of the arena, right next to Beelzebub, and shoot at the chandelier that you want to pull. And it just does the maximum range. It just pulls it exactly where you need it to be. That makes it a lot easier. Anyway, now we get the fire rings of Scorchy. And after that, we're gonna hit Beelzebub one more time, and then it's time for the final phase. And the final phase, also with... I'm actually right now, I'm not sure how well you're hearing the music, but... The music is a banger, and it's just got this cool climax for the final phase that makes this very hype. We get every attack again. We get the ground pound of Prickly. We get the zigzagging of Kiki. mixed with the pillars from Wintry. And then we're gonna get a mix of Hexy and Scorchy. We're gonna see the very useless and very cheesable Ice Wind attack and the Fire Rings. And the very final attack you can actually very easily cheese by just standing in the corner. It's completely trivial. However, I'm feeling cheeky. I'm like, hey, I have 4 health. It's very unlikely that anything bad happens now. So I'm gonna do it the intended way and zip zap around the air. And now it's time for the final hit. I'm gonna pull this and pull this. And that is it. That was SNES. That's Frogun. It's a wonderful category. It just shows so much more of this category, so much more of this game, so much more cool tech. And I would really, really, really love to show this to people. And yeah, bring more people to checking out this really neat game. Like, whether it's casual or as a speedrun, like this is a game that actually deserves more space in the limelight, if you ask my biased opinion. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed this run, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.